Okay, throughout the book of Judges, we see Israel in a downward spiral, repeatedly turning away from God, suffering the consequences, and crying out for help. The cycle of sin deliverance continues, emphasizing the need for their faithfulness and foreshadowing Israel's need for a lasting leader who can bring true lasting peace. Now also we are seeing that in the current times. Okay, let's start. Chapter 1 and 2, we see Israel's struggle and the cycle begins. Book opens with a recap of Israel's struggles to fully claim the land after Joshua's death. Some tribes managed to drive out Canaanites, but others let them stay to do forced labor, which leads to problems later. So God raises up judges to lead them, but a cycle begins. The Israelites falling into sin, facing oppression from surrounding nations, crying out to God, and then God sending a judge to save them. Each time a judge dies, so the people fall back into sin. So chapter 3, we get to see three first judges, Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar. So let's talk about them. These, taking Othniel, Caleb's nephew basically, delivers Israel from the king of Mesopotamia. Then comes Ehud, a left-handed judge who takes down King Eglon of Moab in a pretty memorable way, hiding a sword and delivering a fatal blow in private, maybe in the bathroom, cool chamber, roof chamber. It's mentioned, so it must be bathroom when he's relieving himself. So all that pictures. But anyway, very um, in a tricky way he does that. Shamgar, another judge, defeats 600 Philistines with an ox goad. Short and very impressive. And then chapter 4 and 5 talk about Deborah and Barak. Deborah, the only female judge, she's a prophetess and wise leader who who with her general Barak leads Israel against King Jabin and his commander Sisera. So when Sisera flees the battlefield, he finds refuge in Jael's tent, but she ends up killing him with a tent peg. Deborah's song in chapter 5 celebrates God's victory and Jael's bravery. Now, 6 to 8, we see Gideon and his 300. Gideon starts out hesitant, questioning why God would choose him, but he is reassured through a series of signs like the famous fleece test. God then tells uh, Gideon to lead Israel against the Midianites, but with a twist. His army is reduced to just 300. They win the miraculous victory by confusing the Midianites with the trumpets, torches, and jars. Sadly, after Gideon's success, he makes an idol, of course, one ephod he makes, and that becomes a snare, it's mentioned. And again, Israel soon returns to idolatry. Chapter 9 talks about Abimelech's ambition. Now, Abimelech is son of Gideon. He's not a judge, but tries to set himself up as a king. He kills his 70 brothers. Only one escapes and rules over Shechem ruthlessly. Eventually, his leadership unravels and he dies in a pretty dramatic way when a woman drops a millstone on his head. Of course, he didn't die, but he asked somebody to kill him. It's kind of suicide. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition and violence. Now we talk about 10. I mean, we get to know about Jephthah and his rash war in chapter 10 and 12. So after a period of oppression, Jephthah, an outcast with a rough past, he becomes a judge. He makes a tragic vow. If God grants him victory over the Ammonites, he will sacrifice whatever comes out of his house to greet him. Unfortunately, his daughter is the one who comes out first. Jephthah's story ends on a sorrowful note, reminding us to be careful with our promises. I'm sure he would have given his daughter as a sacrifice. I do not know the age and all those things, all those details, but the danger of rash woe is reminded here. Now, 13 to 16th chapters, Samson's wild ride. Now you can see Samson, who is one of the most famous judges, known for his incredible strength. Dedicated as a Nazarite from birth, he has some serious weaknesses, especially his attraction to Philistine women. He performs feats of strength like killing a lion with his bare hands and slaying 1,000 Philistines with a donkey's jawbone. His downfall comes when Delilah, his Philistine lover, betrays him, cutting his hair, which is the source of the strength, being a Nazarite. He was captured, blinded, and now calls on God one last time and brings down a Philistine temple, killing himself and his captors in this process. Now, 17 and 18 talk about Micah's idol and the Danites. So these chapters tell a disturbing story of idolatry. A man named Micah makes an idol, and a young Levite becomes his personal priest. Later, the tribe of Dan takes an idol, and the priest using them to set up their own place of worship. It's a chaotic snapshot of how far Israel has strayed from God. And now 19 to 21. Actually, this is about the Levites' concubine and civil war. Levites' wife or concubine, we do not know, but the horrendous event that was captured. It's basically a gang rape and killing, pretty much like what happened in the Kolkata incident recently that shook the nation. I have even done one video also. You can watch that. But this 19, 20, 21, these three chapters capture the atrocity and the civil war that comes later. So the book closes with one of the darkest episodes in Israel's history. A Levite's concubine is abused and killed in the town of Gibeon. Outraged, the other tribes go to war against the tribe of Benjamin, nearly wiping them out. After this Levite makes the dead body into pieces and sends to various tribes to give that intensity of the atrocity to let them know, and they're all really on full fire. They could come up and they almost about to wipe Benjamin, and afterward they are filled with some remorse, and they are now trying to find a way to preserve the tribe. It's a really heartbreaking end that shows how far Israel has fallen. And the book ends with this verse. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes. Pretty much like how nowadays are. Yeah. So overall, the book of Judges is, an intermediary phase where we see Israelites falling from the grace of God over and over and over again. They turning away from God, suffering its consequences, be it wars or severe punishments, but still again crying out for help, and the cycle of sin, deliverance coming through different judges. There are 12 judges mentioned in the book of Judges, and it's all this book really emphasizes the need for we being faithful to the Lord whom we serve and the true living God. We all need that kingdom that where our king is truly honored and our king is truly given the true power, and he will be ruling over all of us with his righteousness, with his peace, and with his shalom. So let's look forward for that. God bless you.